Hello, and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Executive Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Avila. I am CEO and founder of Stroke TV Media. Now, I got a special guest for you today. Her name is Phyllis Hazaro, and she deals with multi-generational workplaces and solving issues there. So let's bring her on right now.
Welcome to the Stroke of Genius Show, Executive Experience. And now, here's your host, CEO Aaron Avila.
Good morning, Phyllis.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
I think I froze up. I can hear you, but I'm
You're fine in my end. You look fine.
okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm not moving here, but can you hear me?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
all.
Really great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Please introduce yourself. Say a brief little introduction. Where you at? What you doing? Can I introduce yourself?
Okay, well, I'm delighted to be here. I am in New York. I am actually a native. I lived here for a very long time, and we are having a horrible day with this storm. So it's been a little chaotic, but I'm safe and warm and up high enough not to worry about flooding. So, as I said, I'm delighted to be here. To introduce myself briefly, I have been dubbed for years the cross-generational voice. I'm very big about getting the various generations communicating with each other and feeling unease in that. So I help multi-generational firms or organizations recognize and understand and address generational and multicultural perspectives and worldviews is they often cause conflicts among coworkers or workers and their managers or with clients and customers. You know, people are puzzled, anxious, afraid to speak up or what they say. And the result of this and the way we work with cross-generational conversations, with a new kind of mentoring that I'm introducing, they're going to retain more of their valuable talent and really eliminate roadblocks for both individual and organizational success. So it's thrilling when I see those things happen, and it seems like the world is waking up to how generational difference of attitudes really inform and influence attitudes and behaviors about all the other kinds of differences that there are. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I told you green room. I experienced conflict between a younger salesman and an older salesman, and it was not good. And this is what you come in and kind of bring together, right? You kind of bring harmony to the workplace.
Yes, well, harmony and collaboration and, you know, reducing the stress that people are feeling. We hear so much about, wellness and mental illnesses across the ages and especially the young people. And with COVID, that interrupted everything. And people, a lot of them lost the ability, or they were out of practice for communicating with each other, and they're now trying to figure out, are they in the office, are they not in the office, and crazy things happen when they're mandated to be in the office. Sometimes they're on Zoom talking to their coworkers while they're in the office, which seems a little bit crazy, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, Phyllis, you said something kind of struck me really critical and kind of I think what you may end up doing, communication. You opened up those lines of communication. I know that most of the problems that I saw occurring between this multi-generational workplace was a lack of communication. So you come in there and help them communicate, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, communication isn't just talking. And it's always better in person. I really miss not being able to do more in person. But it's how you think and what is coming across, and developing relationships, which we've sort of gotten out of practice with, and how to do that, which
Yeah, I
may.
think I'll use Zoom. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to build a relationship with someone that's on Zoom. I mean, we do what we can to do it, and we
Mhm.
are able to do it. But there's something about the energy of the people being in one place.
So true, so true. I mean, it was better than nothing when we really couldn't be in person, but you're not conveying the same kind of energy.
Right.
But if you get to meet somebody first in person and spend some time with them and talk to them, about their lives and the things that are important to them, then you have a relationship established. You can do it, continue on Zoom after that. But I don't think it's the best way to begin
Yeah.
unless you have to.
Right. 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 I think that probably is. Now, here's a, a person that watching kids. So Karen says, I agree. We all have our own way of thinking and doing things.
And you
And
can't help that. That's the true of, cultural differences. I recently got a certificate in cultural intelligence because I thought that was a good compliment to what I do. It's all those things, the things we grew up with, the things that are surrounding us, the norms that we're used to, and that we have to go beyond ourselves and really focus on the other person and what
okay,
matters to them.
Phyllis, do me a favor and paint me a picture of a workplace that's maybe dysfunctional and has a multi generational problem. How does a person know they may need your help? How do you identify it?
Well, I think that people know when they're uncomfortable. Part of it is that they may not ask for, to the decision makers who have the budget, um, and can bring somebody in to fix a situation. Is, when I go in, I'll ask a lot of questions, and it's different in different organizations. What is going on? And sometimes there's more anxiety and discomfort on the older end, and sometimes on the younger end. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm very excited about a new format for mentoring that I'm in the process of developing, which is to have a team of mentors, on the older end, and the younger one being a younger millennial or Gen Z, really bringing their own different perspectives to the mentoring situations. I,
Yeah. Okay. So take a look at this question. The question this audience members. Do you think it could be just a toxic work environment? Meaning, when you're having a conflict between the two, is possible.
yeah, yeah. Well, it is, but the toxicity comes from people. This is all about people.
Right. Right.
So, we have to figure out what is going on there. And sometimes it's management that is really causing it and they won't change. You know, and sometimes it's individuals who have their, it's my way or the highway kind of attitude. So we really have to probe, ask good questions, and find out what are the root causes of what's going on before you can actually fix in a real way what the problem is.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. The workplace, if you really think about it, has really changed. It has changed a lot. The older business person, more of a dictatorship, meaning authoritarian, that the person that I was a boss raised in that environment, you do what I say, when I say, how I say. That's it. I'm the boss. And that creates a conflict. And the other person is saying, you don't, I don't think so. And I get it.
Yeah,
That creates a conflict.
yeah, that command and control kind of environment. And there are still leaders. I mean, we're getting away from that. And a lot of people in a lot of workplaces are realizing, especially since what we all went through with the COVID pandemic, that people want to be able to bring more of their lives to their work and who they are. And different people thrive in different kinds of situations. So we know that the future of work is changing so much, not only in the technology, but and where we work, but how we communicate and work with each other. And all
Right.
of those things have to be faced because there are
Big-
different kinds of. I think we need to look at what style of leadership works best to
But
solve.
yeah, I was saying not the dictator, you do the say, how I
Right,
see.
right.
Some we know it doesn't work. The talking at people, force him to get in line doesn't work. Can make him part of the team. But here's a question for Karen again. So, what do we do when there may be an impasse in the office? Meaning there is a conflict and they're at an impasse. What do we do? How do we get through it?
Well, it depends who the we is, but I think people have to feel more comfortable speaking out, even if you're 23 years old, respectfully. And respect and courtesy is extremely important. We have to, behave ourselves well. And you won't get anywhere not being, respectful. But to feel okay, they can go to somebody who has more decision making power. It may be their manager, it may be even to the person at the top, it may be in HR, it might be the diversity people, and they have to figure that out in their own situation, or have somebody come in and help them figure this out. But we have to feel, and there has to be created an environment of psychological safety, that people don't feel that their jobs are being threatened if they bring up things that are uncomfortable for people,
Right, right.
and uncomfortable for the management.
Yeah, I'm gonna see now. If I was to ask you, Phyllis, tell me your ideal client. Who out there can you help? Who are you looking for?
Well, I work with multi-generational organizations, I said, and I they who see a need to recognize, understand, and address these conflicts and multi-generational perspectives and cultural different worldviews cause. We got to eliminate or head off before they happen conflicts among coworkers or a worker in management or with clients and customers. So those are the ones, and the result of that is that you're going to retain more valuable workforce, your talent, and eliminate roadblocks to more success for the organization and for the individual.
All right. Okay, Karen wants to know if you ever worked in a hospital setting.
Not in this in this kind of subject matter. I actually was, when I was an urban planner, my master's in urban planning, and that was my first career a long time ago. But I haven't, but I'd love to. And, I've talked to my doctors about this, and they think it's really needed and important. And so I say, bring me in. I would love to.
Well, I want to bring on school, and like I said, time will go by quick. But you wrote a book. I'm bringing it up my screen right now. Could you please tell us what and audience, if you're out there and you're watching this, either live or on the replay, just take your phone, can't scan the QR code right there. It'll take you right to Amazon and order Phyllis' book. What is your book about, Phyllis?
Well, it's really about the subtitle is The Compelling Case for Cross-Generational Conversation at Work. And it goes into what I call the 10 essential skills and traits that you can't learn, practice, acquire by going out on the internet, but need to, so you can't Google it, but need to be developed through relationships and conversations. So they are things like trust and empathy, perspective, curiosity. I am so big on curiosity. I'm a very curious person. It's one of my superpowers. And, inspiration, reciprocity. There are 10 of them. And I interviewed teams in different organizations, in different industries of, at least 2 or 3 different generations. So those are examples in there, and steps. Each chapter goes into the problem and the challenge, and the steps to fix the situation or to live better. So it's a lot about conversation and about relationship building.
Yeah, you just said relationship building. I mean, if we could all get along, how good, we could all get along. It's not realistic, but I think you just said your book identifies a conflict, identifies a problem, and then gives step by step advice how to possibly deal with that issue, right?
Right. And if you are in the legal profession in law firms, the American Bar Association asked me to write a book on generations. So there's another one, that's really toward that industry, called Embrace Gengagement. Gengagement is one of my made up words. I have a few more. I love
Yeah.
words. They just pop into my head.
I actually like Jen Gates, but it sounds really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I talk about Gengagement in the beginning if you can't Google it too, but the
Yeah.
other one it's in the title. So
Now, if someone's interested in acquiring your services and talking to you, how can they get hold of you? What's the best way for them to get hold of you?
I would say I'm happy to give out my email address if you like, and
Yeah,
you can
please.
reach me. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Just search for me. I'm on the only Phyllis Weiss Hazaro. I use three names like on the cover of the book, but Hazaro is my last name. And so it's, the LinkedIn thing in pwhaserot.
All right. Now, how about your email? Could you tell us what your email is?
Yes. So that is pwhaserot at P as in Peter, D as in David, counsel, COUNSEL.com.
So, do you offer that first, say, 30-minute consult if someone to get all you an email and talk to you? Do you offer a 30-minute consult or what?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. I was thinking 20 minutes, but can go over. And people, but yes, I really am happy to talk to, and I learned so much from any conversations. So, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you.
And just so you know, people, I will put in all links that are relevant in the description of the YouTube video. So please give me about 30 minutes after the show. I'll make sure I add all the links to there. But Phyllis, do me a favor because I wanted you to paint the picture of the conflict that you see that you've dealt with in the past. Tell me a story about you having to deal with a conflict. All right. Tell me what that means. Let us hear it.
Well, I think, very often it's the kind of thing where the younger people are feeling like they're not getting listened to and need to speak up and have the confidence to do that. Or sometimes they're speaking up too much,
Yeah.
according to the older people. And what I do is I get them together and try. I also have a certificate in dispute resolution,
Yeah.
conflict resolution. So all of those things that I do kind of come together. But to get them to feel comfortable talking to them, I run programs, cross generational conversation days, where I have people in groups of three, at least three generations, uh, give them some problems or they bring them up, but otherwise I'll start out with the questions and get them to have a discussion about these things. And it's amazing, people who never felt comfortable reaching out plunge in and really feel like they get a lot out of it. So I always, when I appear on a podcast, I always like to give the audience a challenge to pick three people that they don't work with all the time, usually, unless there are issues there, um, to get to know better. Three people of different generations, reach out to them and start a conversation and see that once you do that, get over if there's a fear or a discomfort, that you can develop some really good relationships and it becomes easier every time you do it.
Yeah. In the experience I've had in the workplace, a lot of the times the older boss man or boss woman, I personally work for men, but they dictate and they say, okay, you could do it this way. No questions. Now the younger person says, well, I think I have a better way to do it. The older person, because they said it, says, no, I don't want to hear it. Shuts them down. Do you see in the workplace today that the younger person seems to be constantly complaining about not being heard, not being felt, not being part of the workplace?
Um, the thing is that different workplaces are different, and in some places they're not having that problem. So it all depends. And sometimes it's just the older people who are complaining that the younger people want to do different things, and they're, wanting their ideas to be heard, and we have no time for this, and it's always worked the way, we do it. So why do we need to change? And there's just got to be an openness. And you really save time and energy in the long run because you avoid the conflict, or you try out something, or you teach the other person something, whether it's the older or the younger, this, so that you avoid doing it wrong or having a bad experience and then having to redo it. And everybody feels so pressed for time, but it's short-sighted to not take the time up front to try to pave the way for avoiding those kinds of situations.
And it's really where your company comes in. You try to get it before. Ideally, use a conflict.
Hmm.
You've seen this friction,
Right.
and then you call Phyllis. And she comes in, you kind of smooth that out.
Well, yes, hope so.
Sorry. Yeah, to me, it's
Yeah,
funny.
sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of things. It's like even when you're training somebody for something, a junior person, and well, you give them an assignment, but you don't really tell them how you want them to do it or what it needs to be. This happens a lot in law firms, and the partner gives an associate an assignment, and they don't spend the time up front, and so the associate comes back and they did, they tried to figure it out themselves, and the partner's unhappy with it, and it may not be even all bad. It's just not their way or in their style. And so often, what the partner does is decide to do it over themselves instead of instructing the better way to do it or the way they want to see the result. And so nobody's learned anything.
Right.
They've spent extra time. Whereas if they had the conversation up front and were clear on how best to work with each other and what it is they wanted, they would save a lot of time and get a better work product.
Yeah, boy, I've been through that many, many times as conflicts. But we're coming down the end of the show, but I am curious, what is your website address? I'm on like show the web. What is
Okay, my website is youcan'tgoogleit.com.
Oh God, I love
Yeah,
that.
there's no apostrophe, obviously, but those are the words. You can't Google it.com. My practice development council, um, very long and very large website, got hacked into, and so I'm not sending anybody there right now. And we've got to do things with it. It's got a ton of information. It's huge. But you can't Google it.com is the one that has the more up to date and the generational uh, information we've been
Well,
talking.
Phyllis, I can't think enough. We're down. Believe it, I told you 13 minutes ago by quick. Well, I just did. But thank you so much for being here. I really want, and again, audience, if you're out there, I'm gonna put the links. Give me about 30 minutes to gather up all the links, the important links that you should have in the YouTube video. And the seriously, Phyllis, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for the invitation. It's my pleasure. And as I said, I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants
All
to
right.
contact me.
Thank you again. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.